It is currently 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central Time, and we have the latest update on now still tropical storm Bertha, but it has strengthened slightly. Pressure down the 995 millibars. Wind still tropical storm strength at 60 miles per hour. Moving towards the north and west, slowly at just 3 miles per hour. Now, this is really being sheared apart quite significantly, so I wouldn't expect rapid intensification coming out of this storm. But the hurricane hunters are out there. They're flying through it right now. They did indicate that slight intensification. We can see here at the track, still expected to maintain tropical storm intensity as it skirts the coastline of the Gulf, coming onshore into southern areas of Louisiana. But if you notice, a lot of the cloud cover really significantly displaced towards the south. So the big issue is going to be those winds along the coast and maybe even some storm surge. Tropical storm warnings are in place at this time from Mobile back towards New Orleans. And there's also that storm surge watch in place as well, as we could be seeing some of those coastal water level rises. And this is very typical, especially in the bayou areas there along the immediate coastline. You got those very low-lying areas that can see some of those water level run-ups. But take a look at that time frame. Basically, as we go through Tuesday, Wednesday, and a Thursday, this skirts the coast, bringing some of those coastal impacts, but not really going far inland. And remember, this stays well towards the west of Florida. Here's a look at the radar over the last 6 hours. You can see that low-level circulation fairly defined, and thus it has that tropical storm status. Even some thunderstorms flaring up along the eastern periphery of it, and expect that to continue through this afternoon. You get a little daytime heating mixed in there. And with some of those storms, you could have some localized heavy rainfall. But if we pull back the picture, you can really see what we're talking about with the shear. Northeasterly winds coming in, the bulk of the convection towards the southwest, and what I like to say is Bertha a little exposed here, and you can see the low level center right there. That is just a clear indicator of basically that low level center being exposed. We only have low level clouds right in there. The convection is displaced towards the south. And this is what we're talking about, a classic example of dry air and wind shear interacting on the storm here. Now, that's not to say there's going to be zero impacts. It's just hindering any rapid intensification coming out of this. Basically, if you want a storm to intensify, it's got to be over warm waters where it is right now, but it also needs that good exhaust and good shear, or at least low amounts of vertical wind shear. So is this going to head towards east and impact Florida? Unlikely. All guidance shows that shear kind of pushing it along with a general easterly flow with the winds. See the GFS versus the Euro here. So Bertha, continues to be sheared. Tropical storm warnings in place along the Gulf Coast, and there is also still a rip current risk in place along the East Coast due to those littoral winds coming in from the south along the east coastline of Florida here. But take a look at the future cast, so we finally get to some of the models after I've kind of talked about everything here. This is just one of our models, our in-house one, showing this move towards the north and west, kind of maintains this tropical storm intensity with the bulk of the thunderstorms towards the south of it, but you still have some of those onshore flow, bringing those scattered showers across parts of the panhandle into Alabama, Mississippi, and eventually over there towards New Orleans. Now, even after this comes on shore, there is still going to be kind of a surge risk along some of those coastal areas because those winds are going to continue to be pushed in from the south. So our next high tides as we go out through Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday still could cause some issue. As far as that model outlook, it will continue to be improved. As I mentioned earlier, the hurricane hunters are out there right now. There's another flight later on tonight at 8 p.m. with NOAA, and one at 7:30 p.m. from the Air Force recon coming out of Keesler Air Force Base. So they don't have too far to fly. That is in Biloxi, Mississippi. And here's a look at that wind forecast, kind of showing you the backside of this. As I mentioned, we're still going to have those winds kicking in from the south even after this comes on shore as we go ahead through Thursday and into Friday. So there is that storm surge threat there. As far as rainfall, since the bulk of the convection is offshore, really those flooding rains are staying out there too. But we still could have some of those local impacts along the Gulf Coast and even stretching back towards the first coast, some isolated showers closer into Jacksonville. But I think the bigger threat is going to be that rip current risk if you are out here. All right, so that's a look at the forecast right now as of 11 a.m. The latest update on Tropical Storm Bertha. Not expected to become a hurricane. Just want to emphasize that. Really struggling at this point, but there are those local impacts as it edges along the Gulf Coast. The next update will be coming out at 2 o'clock. We'll have a full kind of 30-minute breakdown here for you at First Coast News, so make sure you continue to check back in.